How we doing, YouTube? Raw Life back with another Lufenia clear. This time we're doing the Rude LC, the Terse Turk. It's a fight against three of these masked monk guys. They try to debuff you a lot, so I brought Aerith because they put on a big debuff pretty often. Strago because, hey, three enemies. Strago's eaten. And Agrias. Agrias, for a lot of reasons, Brave gain up, she can lock the bosses out, she gets a lot of paralyze, silence, confuse, all that good stuff. And so this team was no BT, no friend unit. We did bring pretty much a perfect team to counter the boss mechanics though, so it's not that impressive, but this is actually a little bit of a welcome rest from some of the tougher Lufenias we've been going through. These guys can hurt you pretty good if you're not careful. And the orb, as you see there, the orb just appeared on B. The orb appears at 79% and it's a sap orb. So I brought Sarah and Ferris calls to deal with that orb. Didn't end up needing them both. This is a pretty quick fight. These guys aren't very tanky, and as you can see, my guy Strago just absolutely blowing them up nonstop. Aerith is great here. Lots of Brave gain up with Agrias, and pretty much keeping everybody capped on Brave all the time. The Seal Evil debuff is great. And the main thing, as I mentioned, is debuff evasion. As you see, they do casts curse all the time. If you let that hit you, they'll put on some pretty nasty debuffs. So I just wanted to avoid that completely. The other option is to bring 6 framed buffs. If you do that, then they can't throw the debuff on you anyway. So we call that the ribbon strategy. I think Macnol came up with that. Check out thecityinfo.com. Macnol's great part of the community, great member of the community. But yeah, the ribbon strategy by stacking buffs, or else you got to bring Ignis or Aerith or somebody to keep the debuff off of you, because even if you bring a cleanser until it's their turn, that debuff, I believe it prevents you from gaining any Brave whatsoever, so you're just losing turns. And the turn count's kind of tight. It's 60. If you bring a burst or any synergy or a friend unit, you know, the turn count probably isn't that tough. But for this squad, we really needed to maximize the damage to get through it in 60 turns. We did so comfortably, but like I said, that's probably because we brought a perfect team setup for this. I did pity Agrias. If you follow my pool videos, you know that. So I will be using Agrias a lot. As you see here, I'm utilizing her AA, which guarantees that her skill 2 will inflict paralysis on all enemies. If you don't use that AA, it's actually only 25%. That is up from 15% prior to her LB. So that AA is really big here. It's awesome keeping these guys locked down. They don't get very many turns. When they do get turns, you gotta be careful. If their masks are red, their masks being red mean that they're gonna hit you hard, and they do some HP stuff, and just don't really want them to be acting unfettered, as they say. You want to make sure you keep them in check. If you're locking them down like I do with Agrias, that works. Delaying kind of works, but the orb requires them to act because it is a sap orb. And you see them keep casting curses, but those casting curses don't work because we got Aerith. Thank goodness. Agrias was great here. This is the first Lufenia I've really run her through. I didn't run her through the last one. She was Synergy, I believe. But I had a lot of fun with her. I pitied her, as you saw in the poll video, and so I'm, forcing myself to use her anyway. But I actually really enjoyed it, and she's really fun. All the lockdown options she has between the silence, paralyze, confuse, all that. She's really, really cool way to keep bosses in check. She does a lot of boss disruption. As you see there, they did get a turn with the red mask on, and Agrias took an HP attack, and she survived it, of course, but that's just an example of how you got to be really careful with these guys. You got to watch their turn order, you got to watch their orb, and they also delay themselves at some of these thresholds. So the orb can get kind of scary if you hit a threshold and the orb's already kind of low. They're gonna delay themselves, and obviously that means they won't move again for more time, and the orb just keeps dropping down. This run was pretty smooth. I'm sure you've already noticed there's a couple misplays, but even with the misplays, this team is just very well equipped to handle this particular fight. Got to throw on the second Sarah debuff here to get that Goddess's Light. Keep the sap effect on there so that that orb keeps ticking down. We're at turn 34. Have not summoned yet, but I am a little wary of letting them move without locking them down, because they did pop Agrias real hard there when they did move with the red mask up. So we're thinking about what we want to do here. I'm going to go ahead and paralyze them using the AA and then Judgment Blade. That's the 100% guaranteed paralyze on all enemies. As you see, that was clutch right there. Kept them all from moving. The Sarah debuff increased their orb on all three. So now we're in a pretty good position with 12 on the orb count for each of them and 37 turns. So we'll go ahead and summon. I didn't really notice I had Odin on here. Probably could have used a better summon, but I roll with Odin all the time, so we're fine. Like I said, this was a little bit of a breath of fresh air as far as Lufenias go. This was my first run, to be honest with you, and I didn't really have any hiccups, even without a burst unit, even without a friend unit. It went really smooth. So I like this fight. Not that I hate more difficult fights, but it is nice to have a fight where you can, kind of show off some units that you've been wanting to use. I love using Strago. Just hits like a damn truck all the time. If you have him, you know that. Aerith, I've loved Aerith ever since her LD release. She's been just so good for me. She just covers so many bases and just really, really useful. She does have a weird kit now where you're pretty much HP and brave attacking all the time if you're not using the LD. So a little weird to use, but still very fun. And Agrias, of course, my pity, really showing me that she was worth it. And I'm going to be using Agrias a lot. We're not going to say Agrias, what do you call him? It's not a Agrias saga per se, but I'm going to be throwing Agrias in here a lot because I do not like pitying. I do not like pitying LDs, and so if I pity, I'm going to get my money's worth, or my gem's worth, should I say. They're confused, not going to be able to move here, and all the orbs are going to pop up a little bit more. See, from 5 up, because they got turns, and so now we're pretty much ready to just burst them down. They're all low, 9%, 7%, 4%. I didn't know if they enraged or not, but I didn't want to let them all move, so I decided to kind of focus down B. Luckily, it didn't seem, they do something weird here, but they don't actually enrage. I don't know if it was because I have debuff evasion up or what, but when B dies, they doesn't seem to do anything. Don't take my word for it. First kata, that's the first time we saw that. But A was able to, or C was able to get Strago there with another HP. That's only the second HP attack that I took this whole fight. So I kind of checked the score requirement for the HP. Saw that I am going to need to heal Strago up before I finish this fight off. which is a little frustrating. But here you see I got a really clutch Judgment Blade paralyzed without the AA up, so it was only 25% paralyzed, and it got him. So very useful, very lucky, honestly, but kept A from moving. Strago comes in and just vaporizes C. So now we're down to 1 enemy left, 52 turns. It is a 60 turn count, and Agrias, fittingly, is going to deliver the final blow. I appreciate you guys checking me out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, watch us on the live stream, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday with Blart and Type Zoey. I hope to see you soon. Thanks.